I'm here today. I'm Michelle. I'm the co-founder of Spark and Pony Creative. I've been doing this gig for 6 years, but I've been in the industry for about 16. So I'm really excited though today to talk to Justin from Artistry Productions Inc. And I'm really excited to hear what he has to say about the small crew, big look. So I'm just gonna let him take the mic. And Justin, if you want to do a little intro and tell me maybe a little bit about your production company and kind of how you got here today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, how I got here today, I got an email last week, which was super cool. Thank you very much for putting this together. This is such a cool idea to get creatives in one space in different mediums of creativity. This is super, super cool. I'm Justin Brunelle. I'm the owner and founder of Moving Artistry Productions. We are kind of a high-end video production company here in Edmonton. We do work for everyone from Hasbro to University of Alberta. We're doing some brand work for them, TV commercials, and we're doing some larger documentary work where this year we traveled to 4 countries around the world, and next year, hopefully, if all goes well, we'll be following an expedition going to 15 different countries. So learning about logistics and how does that work going multi countries. But at the same time, doing large scale productions, we also know how to do small scale productions really well, because working in any city, wherever it's LA or Edmonton or Red Deer, there's different scales of projects, whether it's your own project or if you're working for a client. There's always, it's always a sliding scale. And that's, I think, we've been in business for 14 years actually now. Nice. And one thing that we've learned over time is you're always working on so many different levels and scales with clients who you might think, oh, they've got a lot of money. Actually, they don't, or vice versa. So it always kind of takes us off guard a little bit. But we like to tell stories through film and create moments that resonate with audiences. And we do that through branded commercial work and through documentaries. That's what we do. And I'm here from, born in Edmonton, lived here for most of my life. And I'm super excited to be here today. So thank you.
That's cool. A lot of people are not actually from Edmonton, I've noticed. So yeah, you're a true Edmontonian. Mm-hmm. I'm from Fort Saskatchewan.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. We're from outside of Edmonton. We just looked in ooh, looks nice over there. Nice. Okay, well, let's get it started. You kind of already mentioned you worked in so many different locations. I've noticed you had the Arctic to conflict zones, rooftops right now in Edmonton. Do you have a story that really captured how much can be done with a small crew that you can think of?
I think the project that sticks out to me regarding small crew that had a big impact was in 2017 when Canada turned 150. We got contracted by Best Western to travel across the country for 150 days straight to make a documentary about the top 300 best things to do in Canada regarding nature and the outdoors. And that was a dream project. I was like, oh my gosh, I love traveling and then I love filmmaking. And then we learned what the budget was, and to travel for 150 days making a full-on documentary and an episode for each province and territory, it was like, oh, okay. So I did it myself. So we had 2 hosts of the web series. It was a web series for Best Western, and there was 2 hosts, and I got in a car and traveled with them for 150 days in a row, and brought so much gear that at the end of the day didn't really use, because we had to film 2 activities every single day. Drive to the next thing, fly to the next thing. So I learned how to kind of be a filmmaker. At the time, I was a travel filmmaker and kind of doing things on my own. But I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity to raise the bar. But kind of looking back on that series, I was the camera operator, the director, I was editing the episodes in the backseat of the car driving to the next space, because Best Western needed the episode in 2 weeks. So it was full on 3 hours of sleep a night, basically, for about 150 days. But that, to me, proved that I was like, hey, you can, if you're with good people and you're in cool looking spaces with access, and you have basic tools in your hands that you don't need to spend $10,000 worth of camera gear on. You can actually do it for a smaller amount. Yes, I was working with like a mirrorless camera versus a cinema camera, but that worked because we were in a small car. So looking back on the impact of that project, it was pretty exciting to see, hey, you don't actually need all this gear to turn out something like really impactful. So that was a good experiment and amazing opportunity that I still look back on today.
You're definitely cooler than me. I'm kind of curious, actually, did you learn anything about like boundaries during that trip?
So the hosts were actually a married couple and they liked to fight. So I put my headphones on and edited, and I was like, I wish I had my own vehicle at some points. And we had to share a hotel room occasionally. And I sleptwalked a lot at that time in my life. So that was also interesting. Some fun stories from there. So yeah, there were no boundaries on that trip. But it was important that we got along. For 150 days, 24/7, we needed to get along. So boundaries were pushed, but it was okay because we were living the dream at the time.
That's good. So I'm kind of curious, like when we talk about cinematic results, like what's one decision that matters more than the camera in your hand?
A decision that so many things. I think like obviously like having a good camera is good and is nice, but that's kind of one of the last things that I think about when we get a call from a client. Like we have a number of different cameras, or the contractors that we hire to film all have different types of cameras. I think really the first, and this might sound obvious, but it's making sure your story is really good. Like if you don't have a good story, or if you don't have good characters to drive the story along, you can have the best camera in the world and it'll look amazing, but no one's going to watch it because it's not actually interesting. So I would say having a good story and surrounding yourself with like good people on your team and finding good locations to tell that story in. Because if we're talking about cinematics, yeah, you can have a nice camera, but if you're not in a place that reflects what your story is, don't film the interview in a bedroom. Film it on a rooftop, as long as it relates to that story. We spend a lot of time thinking about locations. Where's the best place to film this interview, or to film this B-roll, like the extra footage on top of a interview? We spend a lot of time organizing that, and it pays off when you find a good spot that looks really good on camera, and you time it for what time's the sun going to be at the right spot. And so yeah, location and story always.
I feel like the sun right now and the location
it's pretty good right now, actually.
Yeah. Okay, well, you were talking about using a repeatable approach when we were chatting. So do you have a repeatable approach that always makes the cut look polished, no matter the budget?
I kind of regret saying that because I'm not actually sure if there is a repeatable approach. The more that I was thinking about that, like there are definitely things that we do every time, and we can talk about some of those to make sure that we're getting what we want out of the day. But I think the repeatable approach would be not being glued to doing the same thing every time. So being willing to adapt based on whatever that project is. So strictly speaking about the edit, for example, when you're editing your promo video, your commercial, your documentary, your film, whatever it is, the editing process is different. The editing style, the creativity is always going to be different depending on the creative of whatever you're working on. So sometimes it might be like really trendy social media, fast edits. Sometimes it might be really slow, dramatic, or it might be, hey, this show, we want lots of really cool, interesting transitions, like coming from a camera, like, can we spin the camera this way for this shot, cut to the next shot where it's still spinning, just like interesting creative things. That doesn't work for a really emotional documentary. That works for a spicy ad that you want to see on TV that's really fast paced. So I think the repeatable things are have good data management, have good organizational skills when you're putting your team together, whether it's just you or if you have some people helping you out. If it's just you, you're working on your schedule, you're talking with your contacts well in advance every time, no matter what the project is. Proper communication. And I think there's a lot of communication people in this space here. Communication with your clients, with your team is so important. So I would say definitely try to repeat that from every project that you go to.
I think communication is key for any creative project. If you're not communicating with the client, and it'll fall apart no matter what you do, no matter how good it is. Everybody has to be on board and in alignment. So
And even when things go wrong, when you're like, oh, that didn't go as planned, but you have to communicate that with the client. That's one thing that I've really been learning over the last while too. It's like, just be honest, be human enough to be vulnerable, and have those conversations that need to happen, because if they find out later that something didn't go as planned and you didn't tell them, it's going to be that much worse later. So I'm just like, oh, this sucked, but we got to tell you this is how we would recommend patching that up.
Yeah.
So those are not fun conversations, but it's ultimately your job because they hired you, or you're your own boss and you have to make some calls.
Yes. Yeah. I feel that. Well, I'm kind of curious. Do you have any go-to moves when you're shooting with just one light or no lights at all? Because I know on the documentary side of things, you probably have dealt with a lot of specialty lighting.
So like right now, we have a light. We got a sun. That's perfect. That's lighting right here. It's nice to have lights, especially like when you're filming indoors. Usually we like to have 3 lights. We have what we call a key light, which is right now the sun. That's the main light that's lighting me. In this case, this white side is my fill light, which is bouncing a little bit of light. And then I want a little bit of a key light, which the sky in the background is kind of lighting my back shoulders. That's basically what we're always trying to look for. So when I'm filming a documentary and it's just me, or I just have a camera operator and I'm directing, it's you're working with the sun. So even though this background might be good, you kind of want to film against the sun. So if I'm filming you, I want most of your face to be lit, but having a little bit of shadow. And I want the camera on the shadow side of you. That is like the most flattering light that you can film any subject in. We call that like Rembrandt lighting, like the painter Rembrandt. That's also a 3-point lighting technique. So if you're filming your own videos and you don't have a light with you, utilize the sun. The sun will dictate where the subject goes and where you go. So if I'm here, I know I want a little bit of light hitting this side of me. This side of my face is lit. This side has a little bit of shadow. I want to put the camera on the shadow side. That's going to give me a lot of depth. So shadows are really, really nice things, and that's what you want to see. So that is really flat lighting and doesn't give me much depth, right? Direct light right on the face. It's not as flattering. This, looking this way, is more flattering. So to do your subjects justice, have a little bit of shadow on the camera side. So key light.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
All right, let's pretend you're like shooting me and I'm a total potato and I don't know how to feel natural on camera. How would you help me with that? That's the thing that you're often dealing probably with.
Depending on time, we would turn the cameras off and just have a little bit of a conversation. Just kind of loosen up. It's okay. There's no, yes, there is a little bit of pressure naturally. We got the cameras and we got the lights. But ultimately, hopefully, we will have met before. I might have done a pre-interview with you to know what you're most confident in speaking in and things that really excite you. As an interviewer, having that knowledge in advance really can help you in the actual interview when the cameras are rolling and the pressure's on. But when you have a subject that's really nervous and you can tell, it does not do them, obviously, it doesn't do them service because it translates on camera. So if we have the opportunity and we're not pressed on time, which ideally we usually, for a 2-minute video, we'll usually schedule about 5 hours of our day for an interview. A couple hours for setup, and then at least an hour, if not 2, for the actual interview portion. That leaves us time to be relaxed. We don't have to cover all this stuff right now. It's like if that person is nervous, it just gives them time to kind of settle in a little bit and be like, hey, you know what, let's just talk about your day a little bit, and like get them to talk about something that they're actually comfortable with, even though you will never use that in the edit. Right. It's in your best interests to kind of become their friend and to be like, you know what, our job is to make you look really good here, and we're really good at it. We are going to take this interview that these cameras are filming and we're going to edit it. Our editor, that's what they do. They're really good at it, and we're going to snip those pieces and we're going We're going to make this sound as good as it possibly can, and not that that's going to be a hard thing to do. But that's the kind of things that we're sharing with that person, being like, oh, like if I stumble or stutter, you get in your head because like, oh, that's how I'm going to be perceived. No, we're filmmakers, we're editors, we're going to help, we're going to remove that, we're going to take out your ums, even though sometimes you might not all the time, letting them know that we're here for you. Like, we're here to make you look good and the best that you can be. We're really good at what we do. We're going to get you there. And let's just relax. Let's have some water and let's take a break. We can go for a walk if we need to. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about your business.
I already feel more relaxed. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a cheerleader, right?
And that's what we are as filmmakers, right? Because we're not doing a good job as filmmakers if we don't help those hard spots. like really, right? It's in our best interest to keep getting work in the future, if we're doing good work. And if they don't come across in a good way, it's kind of our job to make them feel comfortable and to in a way, I don't like to use the word extract, because filmmaking, unfortunately, even in documentary filmmaking, no matter what, it kind of is an extractive process, right? You're asking something. You're always asking your subjects to give you something. So we always want to be aware of that and to be thankful and ask permission. Like, are you in a good spot today to share? If it's like sensitive subject matter, it's like, let's schedule more time than we need, because this might get emotional. Have those Kleenexes. And just make it as safe an environment as possible. And becoming their friend in advance will help you when the cameras are rolling and the pressure's on.
Do you feel like a therapist a little bit?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
No. I think it's honestly just like a safe person to talk to who's there to listen. Because even though you have a job, you ask very crafted questions to elicit the answer you're looking for, but really you're there to listen and to absorb. And yes, you have your filmmaking brain on, being like, oh, they didn't provide context at the beginning of that answer. I know I can't use that. I might have to ask them to, like, hey, let's do that question one more time. Just add a little bit of context at the beginning, and then that'll give us some options in the end.
Right. Is there like a process of like letting go while you're doing an interview too? Like maybe if you notice something isn't really landing or working out, like how much flexibility is in that?
It all depends on like the amount of time that you have with that person. But something that we find so often when doing interviews, our interviewees are like, oh, can you like let us know what the questions are in advance so I can prepare something? We find literally 9 times out of 10, that's not the right way to do it, because then they've already pre-thought of exactly what they want to say. And if they don't say it in exactly the way they wanted to, which they're not going to, because the pressure's on and their heart rate's going fast, they're going to get in their head and they're going to be like, oh, can I just look at my notes? And then it's just more pressure. So like if we kind of can surprise them like you're doing with me today, it's kind of like you gave me a few questions. So I'll say, okay, good to know like where we're going.
Yeah.
But those off guard questions, that really elicits a much more natural response. And that's what we're looking for, no matter what. Like when we're making a promo video or a corporate video or a really emotional documentary, we want authenticity, because we as audience, as viewers, can tell if they're reading off a teleprompter or if they're nervous. We can tell. So if you kind of can catch them off guard and get them to talk about something that they know really well, catch them off guard. It'll be much better than them pre-thinking it.
Speaking of sound, you hear that banging. There's like I don't know, a motor or something, like
helicopters, lawnmowers.
Helicopters. I'm sure sirens soon. How do you deal with like tricky sound scenarios?
So that's where the difference comes in between working on a budget versus working on like a high budget thing. Low budget, it is kind of challenging, and really the key is getting that, like as simple as it sounds, get the mic as close to whatever you're trying to record the sound of. Get it as close to that as possible. I know that's super obvious. When you have a little bit of money, what we do is we do post-editing work on sound to remove certain frequencies, or if it's unrecoverable, like this week, we recorded something that we could not get the sound of a lawnmower out of, and so we actually bring money on our sets to quiet the neighborhood. So if it's like our next door neighbor is doing the lawn, it's like, hey, we're spending 10 grand an hour trying to film this thing. We need clean sound. Well, I'll go over as the producer and be like, hey, we're filming a commercial. I'm so sorry. We're recording sound and the lawnmower is loud, ask them, do you mind just like postponing just for like an hour or however long you need to? Most times they're like, yes, but sometimes they're with like the city or a thing being like, I got to get my thing done. We'll bring money to bribe them. It's like, here's $100. Do you mind just like holding off for like literally just an hour or whatever? So like that's a way to quickly get it done. And if you can't do that, which was the case for us, we have to bring our actor back into the studio and get them to do what we call ADR, which is additional dialogue recording, which is them lip syncing what they were saying to get clean audio. That sucks. But Hollywood movies, 60% of Hollywood movies are ADR. There's like of the movie, like Star Wars, 75% of the film the audio was not recorded with those actors talking. It's them in a studio lip syncing because audio wasn't as good as it should be. So it's surprisingly a lot. In this realm, with working on smaller budgets, it's literally either you mitigate your location, you think in advance, and like, oh, we're in this bubble. It's okay. First of all, we have an echo, which might give some problems, but we go on location scouts always. Even on our small 2-person shows, we go to the location in advance. We clap. What's the echo like in here? And we find the optimal spot for, like, if we're doing an interview, we don't want the clicking of something in the background or the fridge. If it's a really loud fridge, we'll put our car keys in the fridge, unplug it, so we remember to plug the fridge back in at the end of the day. But it's mitigating as much as you can, and for what you can't, either you pick another location or you live with it. And just getting that mic as close to the mouth as possible helps.
I'm still reveling over you dealing with hush money. Okay, well, what is the biggest misconception then that clients might have about small crews versus like a large production? Like, do you find anything comes up there if you show up with a smaller crew and they thought it'd be bigger?
Okay, yeah. Honestly, visuals is perception is a thing. So like with our big clients, we made maybe a stupid purchase of getting director's chairs with our company logo on it, but man, our clients love it. Like when it makes us look a little bit bigger and like exciting. So like that is a thing. Like build your camera out, making it look bigger. Yeah, okay, that doesn't actually help and make the thing better, but like your clients, it might help in some ways. Be like, oh, they're professional. Like, yeah. But I think I'm more so on the other end of that, where it's client perceptions. We find the conversations with clients who've never done video before in Edmonton quite challenging sometimes, because in reality, when we're making a national broadcast commercial, like you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on that 30-second commercial. Like we need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring out the cinematographer, that really good camera gear that they want, all the stuff. The 2 months of preparations in the office with a team of 5 people to make that 30 seconds go off the way the client wants it. So when we say this commercial is going to cost $300,000 to maybe a company who's never made a commercial before or is not used to that, they're like, oh, we were expecting $3,000. So we get that a lot, and which is totally fine. Like film is notoriously expensive. Like cinematographers, like we're paying a director $10,000 a day to work on one of our shows right now, because they're Nike. They've done that. They know how to do that. We want to hire them. So like we've been hired to make a really high level commercial. We're like, okay, if we want that high level commercial, we need that high level experience, the people who've done this before. And if you're going to be paying this much money, you need to guarantee that this is going to happen the right way. So that doesn't just happen for $3,000. So I think sometimes the perception, having those conversations in those initial discovery meetings with clients, it's like, okay, what scope and scale are we working on here? Like a question that I like to ask those clients that I feel are like, they don't really know how much goes into what they're asking for. Yeah. Sometimes I'll ask, outside of the film space here, or what value do you put on having this commercial? Is like, what is having this commercial going to do for your company, and how is it going to grow? What value can you put on that? And so that kind of helps them sometimes reframe their thinking, being like, because it's sticker shock. When we send a number that's like, okay, to do that, and we'll sometimes say in those meetings, because it takes a lot of time to do those budgets. Oh yeah. It's like, can you give us a range of what's, like, if you had the best thing in the world, what's your top? If you want something a little bit easier, what are you comfortable with? And then we can give them a few different options there. But on the smaller budgets, we can work as a really small team. Like anyone here, we all have cinema cameras in our pockets. Like we can all be filmmakers. You don't need the lights. We don't need the whole editing suites, right? There's different scopes and scales of the types of work that we can do. And yeah, we might be working on a really, really big project for this client, but 2 weeks later, they might call being like, hey, we need this really small social media thing that we want to still look really good. Hey, we don't need to charge them $3,000, we can do it for a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of wondering too, do you have any other ways of because it does take a really long time to create budgets and to do all of this kind of quoting work. Do you have other ways you vet clients?
I think we like to give most clients the benefit of the doubt because we've learned to be so scalable. We can do the $3,000 project. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not going to get much prep time. It's going to be one person with one of our smaller cameras going out. It's still going to look good because they're an experienced person in the industry. We can do that. So I sometimes if it's we have this grand idea and we've got $300, that's sometimes where it's we would like to get to know these people and work with you, but also we've got to make a living too, right? And if you're renting your own gear, if you have your gear versus renting it, you got to account for all the time that you're putting into it, the money that you're putting in it to rent that lens to get what they want, all those little things. You got to consider that. So you still do need to be turning a profit at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then I'm kind of curious if you have a moment where that constraint actually made the project better in your opinion.
Yeah. This last year, we had a small budget project that was relatively large in scope. We're okay, we're not gonna be making a lot of money on this, but we know that this is gonna look really good, and we want this in our demo reel. And we ran into a scenario where we filmed the whole thing over about 3 days. This was last year. And the day after filming, we realized from our client said, we cannot use the actor that you hired. There was some legal issues with it. And we're we cannot have this person as the face of our commercial. And so we're oh, we've already spent all the money making the thing. Now they have nothing. It was kind of a little bit on them. But they gave us a little bit more money to repatch. But we refilmed it this year. And we reshot all this stuff, but we had so much extra B-roll from the year before that, hey, we actually got to, we can't show this actor at all, but there was a lot of scenes that were that didn't have the actor, that showed different seasons of Edmonton that we weren't expecting, and it actually made the project a lot better. And that was a budget constraint. We said, yes, we'll help out and we'll film this project for a little bit cheaper because all the issues that happened. But sometimes bad things can turn into a positive. So now that commercial shows Edmonton in all 4 seasons and makes us look a lot better and makes the client look a lot better. And it was only for a little bit of extra money, and we helped them out. But that was a good refresh a little bit.
Can you share the commercial, who it was for? No, okay, that's fair.
Our client was
that's fair.
Batten down the hatches.
NDAs are also a thing sometimes.
The commercial hasn't been released yet. If you see one in about 5 months that comes out on TV, it'll be that one. I'm
gonna watch TV for the first time in about 5 months.
I know, no one watches TV. It's still business, but
yeah. Okay, well, I'm kind of curious. What's one way the Edmonton creative scene could support small productions better? What's it like working in Edmonton, and what do you wish you could see in our community?
I'm a bit torn on this one, but I think what first comes to mind is no matter what experience and scale we have in this room, in the industry, we are all of value. What we know how to do as filmmakers and storytellers helps raise brands, helps tell stories that need to be told, and there is value to that. and I think that they're charge what you're worth. I think I know that's kind of maybe an interesting thing to say, but if you're good at what you do and you're a good, strong storyteller, you can make a career out of it for sure. Even though like Edmonton, like that, it can be challenging, and it's like there's not unlimited work, and there's only so many projects out there with like that type of budget. But it's when there's filmmakers that are doing things for free, it actually is a detriment to the industry with the rental businesses here that are really trying to support filmmakers, new filmmakers and experienced filmmakers. They need to stay in business as well. So I think like getting into the industry, it shouldn't, like the first couple projects, do it for free, get stuff on your demo reel, but you have a value, and you don't have to be charging $1 million for it, but don't always do it for free forever, I think.
I think that was a lesson that was hard for me to learn, actually. It
I'm
took me
still
a long
learning
time.
it.
Yeah.
I did a free project last week. Pick and choose the battles, I guess.
So
right?
hard. You want to be a good human. And
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, well, I think like, I'll make this the last question here before a bit of a Q&A. But yeah, where do you think you see the biggest opportunities for filmmakers starting out today? Maybe with someone who doesn't have a big budget or capital.
I know a lot of people see it as a threat, but AI, oh my gosh, that is going to help us so much as storytellers, as filmmakers. There's the dangerous side of it, right? Where you rely too much on it and you have it make your ideas. That doesn't work, especially in film. You need to be authentic. You're a storyteller. But one thing that we're really trying to embrace, like I've been going to different like film markets and festivals, and what I've been learning there is documentary filmmakers, especially with how much interview content you're capturing, utilize AI to do your transcripts and get AI to do this week we went through about 20 hours worth of footage. What would normally take our editor 3 weeks to go through and just identify story plot lines. We got AI to do a transcript of it. We popped that into ChatGPT and said, hey, we're looking for these story elements. This is what we're hoping for. Can you give us timestamps on it? And it right in Premiere Pro, it says bing, 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 bing. 3 days instead of 3 weeks, what it took our editor. So if we're not embracing that form of AI, where like the time-saving AI, like I still don't really like it for the creative stuff. Like it can help give you ideas to like spark things, but the time saving that you can like use AI for, if we don't adopt, like we're learning right now, if we don't adopt that, we know every other company is going to, and we will go out of business if we don't embrace it. So it's like, hey, can we embrace AI to save time? And I think that would probably be a thing that we should all be on right now.
What a spicy outro. Yeah. They're stoked about AI over there.
Woo!
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. Let it do the tedium.
Yeah, right.
You don't enjoy doing it.
And it will mean project budgets are lower, right? Because it is taking less and less time. That will translate to lower and lower budgets, but that means we can take more and more projects. Yes, as the AI video gets better and better, that will take some jobs out of the market, but there are still so many clients that want to show their people. And documentaries, of course, documentaries are not going to go, like maybe for some B-roll, right? Stock footage, AI will take over that, and that will be a job that we've lost in our industry. But there will never be a replacement for like authentic human moments that want to be captured and shared. So that will always be there. So I think that there's going to be a budget decrease overall, and over time there'll be more, like we have more capacity. We'll have more capacity to do more projects if we embrace the time saving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that. Does anybody have any questions? I loved all of your answers. I feel like I've learned a lot. Especially about lighting. I'm gonna be mulling that one over.
This is
for
really
a while.
good light right now. This is good. Can you
this
get out of my
is
light
like-
actually?
Yeah.
I want to sit in a good light.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for Justin?
So you've talked about traveling. What advice do you have for traveling with camera equipment?
Oh my gosh. I think it depends what camera equipment you're traveling with. We travel with our cameras that need large V-mount or gold mount batteries on the back. Either you ground ship those or you fly on airlines that you can travel with them. Long story short, I would say travel light. Being lighter is better. You can rent locally, so like wherever you're traveling to, see if there's a place where you can rent the lights. You don't necessarily need to pay all the expensive luggage bills to bring your own lights or your own equipment. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you have a camera, a lens, a microphone, and a computer, and an SD card, you can be a filmmaker and you can travel. And you can be pretty light with it. Zoom lens. Make sure you have zoom lens so you can like zoom into close-ups and then also have your wide if you're looking to travel light.
And if you're traveling for business, have you run into like any issues with the border or anything?
So as you're bringing more than X amount of dollars worth of gear over the border into different countries, you're going to need a carnet. So you got to apply for that. There are challenges with bringing excessive amounts of expensive camera gear over the border. You can try to get past, but it's much safer, especially if it's a really important project to you and you don't want to get in trouble with border security. You declare that, or you get a carnet to get it across the border, or you rent locally. I would say, yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Hey, I was just wondering how you describe like an optimal workflow. Does it involve checklists? Does it come naturally at this point?
Checklists, like Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah. And
so
how do you deal with the unexpected during shoots logistically?
So workflow specifically in post or production?
During a shoot.
Workflow during it. Okay, so there's 3 stages of any show. There's 4, 5. There's development, pre-production, production, post-production, delivery. Right? So like up front, when whether you're working for a client or your own project, your development stage is where you're coming up with those ideas, maybe applying for some development funding to like pay yourself to write the script or whatever. And then once you've been greenlit or like, yeah, we're doing this thing, then you enter into pre-production. That is where you're bringing in your team, you're finding your talent, you're finding those locations. How much money do we have to work with? $10 or $10,000 or whatever it is, and deciding how that gets divvied up and making sure everyone's fed. Because like number 1 budget item, everybody needs to be fed. Like whether it's you're asking people to volunteer for you or they're getting paid healthily, you need to feed your people. Like you're asking them to work 10, 12-hour days that are hard. They need an hour in the middle of the day to sit down. I think that's a priority. So like in pre-production, you're planning, you're making that schedule. How long is it going to take for the plane to get to here, for that actor to show up here? Or how long is it going to take for us to drive to our next location in time for the sun to be cresting? Like you're doing all of that planning in advance. And then when you're on the shoot, everyone knows the plan. They have the schedule. They know we need to be driving to the next location at this time. So workflow, and then post-production, same thing, right? Like these are our timelines. This is what we have to do. Regarding workflows, spreadsheets, we use a lot of spreadsheets to be like, this is our scheduling propositions spreadsheet. This is our communication spreadsheet. So our call sheet to let people know where they need to be, when, how they park, where they meet to get to the complicated spot that we need to film, all that stuff. So it's a lot of spreadsheets, it's a lot of emails. We use Google Drive as kind of is that what it's called? Google Workspace as kind of our hub for all the budgets, documents, approvals, scripts, and dealing with logistical challenges in the moment. That is your job as a producer. So like you are there to put out the fires. No one else can do it other than you. Sometimes you have to make split decisions that are very intimidating or scary, and sometimes will have a very big impact on your final project or your wallet. But yeah, we've had like thinking about like filming in COVID when an actor gets COVID, and we had a 3-day shoot schedule. Like I was assistant directing a Google commercial, and our actor got sick after day 2. In COVID, there was no coming back from that. So it was just like that person got COVID, they're flying back to LA. We canceled the rest of the shoot and we sat down and brainstormed, being like, can we edit something that is a Google commercial without this whole last day of filming? The answer was yes. We can always figure things out, pick up additional B-roll to cover story elements there. But ultimately, it's just like taking a deep breath and being like, very quickly, yes or no, or we got to make a call on this. It's a sucky decision, but we have to make a decision. It impacts everyone else here.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question, if anybody has one. Any takers? No?
I could ask that.
Oh yeah, you can get.
I'm just more curious about your experience with like skeleton crews, because I'm sure I'm not the only one here who has to shoot by themselves.
Yeah.
So again, it comes back to my question about logistics and workflows. Like, how do you manage to keep everything in line, making sure you have the right equipment, and also wanting to capture the right moments at the right time?
Honestly, I think it's the same process, just scaled down. So like, still, if I'm myself or with two other people, like I have a lighting assistant or something like that, it's literally the same process: development, pre-production, production, post-production, delivery, and everything is still done. It's just like on a smaller scale shoot, there's less things to figure out. Maybe we don't need to do film permits to film on the sidewalk. Okay, we can just go do it, right? But yeah, I think it's. Sorry, one more. What was that question?
Just making sure everything's in line.
Yeah.
To capture the right moments.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of some shoots where, as stupid as it sounds like, I didn't click the record button. You know, because I was trying.
Oh my gosh, that literally.
Oh,
happened.
no.
Oh my god. That has happened. That happened to one of our operators last week, and we're like, oh. But it's true. Like I've done that more times than I would like to admit. There's protocols for that. So like that's where we're like, we've implemented in our team, all of our camera operators, every time we start rolling, we need to verbally hear each camera operator say rolling, and they don't say rolling unless they're actually looking at the green turning red. Once they see it's actually red, then they're allowed to say rolling. And it still happens. It's literally still happened last week. And it was with a newer contractor, and like we talked about that in advance, but it's also like nerves are high and like things are stressful. It happens. I've literally gone up to the Arctic to film like helicopter shots of mountains, and the card got corrupted, and I didn't film on two cards. So that whole shoot is now just gone, right? So like redundancies. So now I'm like, okay, I want a camera that can record two cards at the same time. Most cameras now do that. But that's kind of one of those things being like, what are all the things that could go wrong? How do I'm literally in the middle of that right now with a really big project. I'm like, okay, we've done everything to prep for this thing next week. What are all the things that could go wrong? The bus could be late, the whatever, like for all these people, what if someone gets sick? I'm now looking at my list, who are backups for all these people, right? So like if you can get this, if you have one chance to get this thing, think about all those things that can go wrong and kind of have a little bit of a backup solution. But ultimately, it's like, if we're looking for a sunset shot in your film, find the best vantage point in the city, go on Google Earth, look at all the cool angles, being like, oh, I actually want like buildings. I want the sun to reflect through the skyscraper and cause a lens flare or something like that, right? You need to scout for that. And like, if you're looking for that really cool shot, whether it's with talent or it's an establishing shot, it takes a lot of, it's not just showing up and doing it. It's like, you plan for it, and it takes time. I'm almost done here. sorry.
No, it's great.
One thing that I like with our big commercial stuff that we do, for every 1 day of filming, we're spending between 30 and 35 days in the office preparing for that 1 day of shooting. So it's a lot of preparing, but it's worth it because then it looks so good. And you have weather contingency. If the sunset wasn't good tonight, great. We have our crew tomorrow. We're going to do it tomorrow. We're going to come back at the same time. And talk to Boxer, being like, hey, if it doesn't work out this day, are we good for the next day? Have that in writing, an email, all that stuff, right? So think of everything. Easy, right?
Yeah. Don't forget to think of everything.
Yeah.
Hot tip of the night.
Yeah.
I think we've all made those mistakes, though, truly. So I just want to say I'm going to wrap that up. It was lovely hearing everything from you. I just want to thank you for showing up tonight, being gracious and sharing your knowledge. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.